Welcome, and thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. I would like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Hanover Township Police Chief Mike Loock to lead us in that Pledge of Allegiance.
You can all rise if you can and face the flag in the corner there for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Would like to begin with a benediction, and I'd like to ask a dear friend of all of ours, Michael Halliday, to come up and please introduce our Father that will lead us in the benediction. Michael?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for this great honor. It's an honor to be here on this special evening that you've put together, and just want everyone to know I've been in town here for about 40 years, and this is such a wonderful township. Families are tremendous here, our school district, our recreation departments, the township. I was just shocked to hear that Denise Brennan is going to be retiring, and I'm disappointed because she never asked me.
No, sorry.
Okay. But, okay, thank you for everything that you do for our program, for our children, and for our families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, the interest that you take in our youth and families in this township is absolutely remarkable. You are at all the events. You set special evenings like this up for families to make people strong and to have our community here strong. I can't thank you enough for everything that you do, and for our township committee.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
And at this time, I'd like to introduce our parish pastor, Stepan Bilik from the Ukrainian, St. John the Baptist Ukrainian Catholic Church. Father is my spiritual leader. He has been leading our parish, especially during these last 3 years. It's been, speak about mental and challenges and emotional challenges our Ukraine has been suffering, and the prayers and the strength that Father has shown us has been remarkable, and we thank our Holy Spirit and God. Father, please come out.
Thank you, Hanover Township, for inviting me to this very important meeting and organizing Symposium. And also, your act of inviting me gives me a strength of faith that we are searching to do the best we can to serve people, to serve God, to serve the church. So to make everybody safe and happy and to live this life of tomorrow with the reassurance. And today we will say a prayer asking God to bless us for this important meeting. Lord, we gather here today to focus on the vital importance of mental health and wellness. We thank you for the opportunity to learn, to share, and to connect with one another. We are grateful for the dedicated professionals, advocates, and individuals who are working tirelessly to improve mental health service and reduce stigma. We pray for healing and recovery of those who are struggling with mental health challenges. May they find the comfort, hope, strength in your loving embrace. Guide our thoughts, words, and actions as we strive to create a more compassionate and understanding world for all. Help us to understand the thoughts and emotions that arise within us, and to discern what is true and what is not. Give us the courage to face our fears and the strength to overcome our anxieties. May we find solace in your presence and a renewed sense of hope for the future. Amen. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I would just like to take a minute and ask the panel to just introduce yourself, starting with you, Krista.
Hi, good evening. I'm Krista DiGiorgio, the Town Clerk in Hanover Township.
Hello, I'm Denise Brennan. I'm Superintendent of Recreation and Parks Administration.
Hello, I'm Tracy Cappiccille, the Director of the New Jersey Statewide Student Support Services Program, a mouthful for Morris and Sussex counties.
Hi, Tim Doherty, Mayor, Town of Morristown.
Hanover Township Mayor Tom A. Gallagher.
Jason Carr, Mayor of the Borough of Morris Plains.
Ralph Ciani, retired Chief, City of Bayonne Police Department, presently the training coordinator at the Hudson County Police Academy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Toomey. I'm the Superintendent of the Hanover Township Public Schools.
Wow, is that a radio voice or what?
I'll be here all night.
I don't know how I follow that up. I'm Stephen Shaw. I'm the Deputy Director of the Morris County Board of County Commissioners, formerly known as Freeholders.
I'm Mike Locke. I'm the Chief of Police here in Hanover Township.
I'm Bob Carroll, the Morris County Prosecutor and long-suffering New York Giants fan.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Adriana Dialman. I'm with the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. I'm a program coordinator and a trainer for mental health first aid.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Egbert. I'm a Parent First Hanover Township resident. I'm a Board of Ed member for the K-8 school district, and I'm also on the Mayor's Wellness Campaign member. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So a short opening comment, and then we're going to begin. I would like to take a minute and set the stage and run through the purpose of tonight's symposium and what we would all like to accomplish with the time we will be spending together. Many times in our lives when we are facing difficulty in almost any area, we may say to ourselves, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. Or, I think I know what I should do, but I don't know how to do it. From there, the path to finding a solution is usually to reach out to the best, most competent, trustworthy people and the best resources available to you to work towards addressing that specific need or concern. However, in parenting, too many times, we actually don't know what to do, how to do it, or we wonder sometimes if we even have a problem at all, or who to speak to if we believe we have a problem. It's tough. Too many times, people say there is no handbook for parenting. Well, there are plenty of books, but not one that can possibly address each specific need of each individual child. The purpose of this type of symposium is specifically designed to introduce as many students, parents, and guardians as possible to the incredible resources we have available right here in Hanover Township, as well as resources we have through many of our top agencies, not only here in Hanover Township, but in Morris County and the state of New Jersey. Tonight, we have assembled the top representatives from the highest levels of public service, beginning with our Superintendent of Schools, Justin Toomey, and members of his guidance department. They are prepared to run through many issues that many of us parents may be currently facing. They will also be very clear on who to call if we have a problem or a concern. From there, they will discuss many programs and initiatives they currently offer every day for every single student, if that student, parent, or guardian may believe it will be helpful. The Mental Health Association will go through many issues that our families may be currently struggling with and share with you the resources and programs they offer every day, 24 hours a day, to anyone and everyone that may want or need them. The panel is comprised of the very best top-level professionals in this field, and they are ready, willing, and able to serve and be there for you with one phone call, text, or email. The last takeaway for tonight is we want to make it crystal clear to everyone that you are not alone. We are all available to you and to each other at all times, and the resources we have access to are yours, and they are just one phone call away. And for the record, if anyone would like to reach me personally, anytime, for any reason, please call 973-428-24 973-441-0166 or 973-441-0114. So without further delay, I would like to begin by introducing our Hanover Township Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Justin Toomey.
Well, thank you, and again, thanks to Mr. Mayor. It's not every day that a mayor calls you and says, hey, this is something really important, something that people need to know about, people need to hear about, and his commitment, obviously, to the township, but also to our children and our future is really remarkable. So thank you for having the vision and realizing that this was important to put together. And again, all of you here, thank you for believing in this enough to come out on a Thursday night, Wednesday, not even Thursday yet, on a Wednesday night, to be able to recognize that, you know what, these things are important. And I see people that are ranging in age in the audience, and this is something that all of us can benefit from and all of us work through every single day. I'm going to speak more from the developmental standpoint, having been in education at elementary, middle, and high school level. I'm also very fortunate to have a team with me in our front row. We have our two middle school counselors, Mrs. Lothian and Miss Lopez, as well as one of our school psychologists, Miss Finelli, and so we're very grateful to have them. So I'm going to kind of, as I explained it to them, I'm going to talk a little bit about the doom and the gloom, and they're going to be the sunshine that's going to share the things that we actually have going on and the things that you, whether you're watching it here live or on the recording, can do, and signs to look for, not only for, people in your own family, but in your communities. Something that everyone wants to, not think about these things until, unfortunately, it's there, it's at your doorstep, right? And according to the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness, or mental illness, 50% of all lifetime cases of mental health illness begins by 14, right? I mean, that's really, 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 stark to such a young age, but I could tell you, and my colleague can tell you, signs start even well before 14. 42% of students feel persistently sad or hopeless, according to the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey. 22% of middle school students have seriously considered suicide. 1 in 10 students in middle school have attempted suicide. Rates of self-harm and anxiety-related symptoms have been on the rise since 2010, and obviously COVID really did a number on the mental health challenges. So these are the things we're dealing with just on a general day. Talking about adolescents specifically, you have transition stress. You're coming from elementary school, which is this very safe cocoon, to middle school, which is a very tumultuous time, and then to high school, where things generally, hopefully start to get a little bit better, but not for everyone. You have social pressures. Obviously, the brain is wired to feel that you care more about what your peers think than what you know is the right thing to do. And social media certainly does not help that, because it provides a very fake perception of reality that kids are really putting all of their, their hopes into. Academic expectations, obviously, that increase. I talked about the digital influences of social media, but you have the cyberbullying, right? And, the old adage is, if you got bullied during the school day, you could at least leave and have some relief until you came the next day, and now it is 24/7, 365 days, right? So those are a lot of things that we're dealing with right now. And then obviously the family issues, long are the days where families have, 2 parents, 2.5 kids, and a white picket fence and a dog, right? And I use that as the average, but that certainly is not the case anymore. You have divorce, you have trauma, you have loss, you have financial stress, there's a lot of those types of things that are happening. And so those are a lot of them painting the current picture. And again, it sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, but those are also, it's really important to recognize what is happening, what are the factors, what is the environment with which these kids are growing up in. And in addition to the brain development, for those that know a little bit about brain research, the prefrontal cortex, which is kind of like right in here, is really the decision-making part of the brain. And that's not really fully developed until your mid-20s, right? So when you think, oh, why did they do that? Oh my God, that was so dumb, right? Well, they're not doing it because they think it's dumb, they're doing it because they're impulsive, and that's part of the age group, right? And those that work with kids, and obviously having kids, but also working with kids, see that. The amygdala is the emotional response center, so that obviously also is helping to lead to some of more of these impulsive behaviors and the tantrums and the freakouts, and then obviously increased dopamine sensitivity. So dopamines are the things that are the feel-goods that when you look at a screen, you get like a rush of dopamines, and so 5 hours of watching YouTube and you're getting all these dopamines, and then you pull the plug from them, and no wonder what happens, right, when you're pretty much pulling that away from them. So there's a lot of factors and a lot of challenges, and we don't think about the science behind our everyday of what we're doing, but you have to remember, behavior is a symptom, right? But it's more important to look at what is the root of that symptom that we are trying to address. We could keep addressing symptoms and behaviors all day long, and so I'm going to share, I'm going to pass it off to some of my colleagues, and they're going to talk about some of the things that we're doing at the school level, and ways that we would identify children that are in harm's way, but also things that, potentially that you could do to help identify them on your end. So I don't know which one of you wants to start. We'll kick it off to Mrs. Lothian.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see some former students here and parents. I've been in the district now since 2013. I taught in a different district before, and I can say that the thoughts about mental health have grown tremendously in the sense that people are much more accepting of talking about mental health needs, which is so positive. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was in our middle school, every student between myself and Miss Lopez, we teach them guidance classes, and we talk about all different topics, and mental health is brought up in every single grade level. So in 6th grade, like Mr. Toomey was saying, we talk a lot about cyberbullying, and we talk about social media issues, because as we all know, when kids enter middle school, they want to be on their phones, they want to be connected constantly, and that becomes one of the biggest issues which causes some mental health problems, because they feel left out. They feel like they don't belong sometimes. They want to do what other kids are doing to fit in, and these are conversations we have in class. And some of the things, I talk to parents about is monitoring what's going on their phone. I know that kids want to be independent, but like Mr. Toomey said, their brain's not fully developed till they're 25. They're not ready for that. So it's really important to have that parent involvement as well. In 7th grade, we start talking about substance use and abuse, because a lot of times people with mental health issues that are not being treated turn to things like vaping and juuling, especially in the middle school, or alcohol. And we talk about that in 8th grade more in depth with alcohol and harder substances as they are going to transition to the high school. And we're pretty open and honest with them about different signs to look for, and we are very grateful that our students are actually very open with us. We have friends of students that come down and say, I'm concerned about my friend. I have students coming into my office saying, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And they're open to going to see mental health providers. And calling parents now, they're more open to bringing their kids to seeing mental health providers outside of school, which is super important. And I think having those open and honest conversations at home about all of these topics is really important to bridge that gap between home and school.
Hi everyone, I'm Renee Lopez. I'm another counselor at the middle school. We put together a lot of activities to really promote mental well-being and positivity and just togetherness in the school, especially during the Week of Respect and Mental Health Awareness Month. So during the Week of Respect, we had a motivational speaker come in. He talks about his life journey, never giving up, the importance of kindness from others, and how that really pushed him to where he is today. And I think that really resonated with a lot of the students that were listening. We have dress-up days that, again, it brings a relaxing and fun environment to the school for all the students and staff to participate in. And this month is May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we have every Friday, everyone wearing green, and as you can see, and it's been a great amount of participation with that. We have every Friday also in the lunchroom, we have the students write up positive posts to hang up on the board in the lunchroom, and the kids have been really excited to do that. They walk in, they want to give their words of encouragement, their positive messages, because when they hang them up, anyone that might need some positive words or nice words to look for in that day, they can take that Post-it with them, and we feel that the kids and the staff have been really enthusiastic about that. And with that, we also encourage the teachers to practice mindful moments in the classroom, which has been also beneficial. So just taking a few minutes to do some deep breathing, listen to music, play a game to just make the school day a little bit more relaxing. And hopefully they'll take that outside of the month of May and utilize that for the rest of the school year to just make the day easier for everyone, students and staff included.
Hi everyone, Carly Finelli, school psychologist. As I'm sure you could imagine, every once in a while there are situations that arise that are more severe, and we're always on the lookout from other students or teachers or parents for signs that we may need to take a closer look at a particular student or group of students. And so at the schools, we have our team of mental health professionals that are trained to conduct risk assessments with students if there is a risk of self-harm or suicidal ideation that's brought to our attention. And we follow a protocol that asks really specific, direct questions to the student about any thoughts or plans that they may have had in the recent past related to self-harm or thoughts of suicide. And it's actually a common kind of myth or misconception that if you ask direct questions, that perhaps it would plant ideas in a student's head or make them think about something that they weren't previously thinking about. But what research has shown is that that's not the case, and that having these direct conversations with students, no matter how serious or minor we may think that the situation is, actually helps improve mental health and reduce risk and harm for students. So we take it by a case-by-case basis. We always work in conjunction with one another, never alone, and obviously working with parents and families on doing our best to assess the risk in each situation to ensure the safety of the student. Sometimes that involves setting up a safety plan, and other times in more serious situations, it involves working in collaboration with other community agencies like the local hospital and whatnot to ensure that the student is safe and we can get all the support that they need.
And I appreciate them being out on a Wednesday night and sharing all of that with us. So I appreciate all three of you. Thank you very much. And yeah, there you go. And I think a few things. Obviously, there's not a magic wand that solves all of these challenges, and we're always, in some ways, we're trying to be proactive, but in other ways we have to be responsive as well. In Mrs. Lothian speaking about her years in education, the age of kids having access to technology, right, has gotten younger and younger and younger and younger, where you could have second graders with Apple Watches, right, or iPhones, right, and so the access that kids are having right now, their brains truly are not ready for it. And I always challenge, especially the adults in whatever room that I'm speaking about this, is to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if that's what you would want your child to be portraying, right? Because the kids are our mirrors, right? We'll have an elementary kid that'll draw a picture of their parent, and in that picture, the parent is with their cell phone, right? So what does that tell you if the child is seeing you as their parent always with your cell phone or always looking at your cell phone, right? You also have to remember, kids are attention seekers, right? So they're going to seek attention, and I even would joke, because I used to be the assistant principal at the middle school back before I was a principal, so I'm back and forth, but I would always say negative attention is still attention, right? And that's usually how we get attention, is by acting out in a negative way, whether it be a sign of needing help or whether it be, mom or dad or whoever is working too much and I just want some time with you. Kids, those are the symptoms I'm talking about, right? Kids are not saying, I'm really going to try to, make my mom's life miserable tonight, right? They might end up making mom's life miserable, but the question is, why are they doing that? What is their cry for help? And I think as teachers, we always talk about the importance of modeling, right? And parents are the first and most important teacher of every single child, because, monkey see, monkey do. Kids are just mimicking behaviors that they see, and so, you wonder why, kids start to say certain things that they're hearing and they don't really understand it. It's because they're sponges and they pick it up. And as an elementary school principal in my last job, I learned a lot about families and a lot about things parents would say that you would never want to, think your kids were telling people. But the reality is they're not realizing the significance of what they're saying. They're just saying it because they heard it, and now they're going to parrot it, right? And so looking at your own habits, right? Are you sitting at the dinner table on your phone? Are you having conversations with them about your feelings? And a lot of times, I even remember when I grew up, it's like, suck it up, you'll get over it, right? And that's fine, and in some ways maybe that's appropriate in certain times, but what you're doing is you're basically reinforcing that their feelings don't matter, and even if if you might not think they matter, or, they still do. And I think that's the important part. So, you think of examples, especially working with younger kids, where they're very upset about something that you wish those were your problems today, right? But you say, I'm hearing that this is really making you upset, so let's talk about it, right? I'm not saying, no, you're acting, you're overreacting, but I'm taking the time to actually validate. I'm not saying, whether it's right or wrong. And the other piece that we always tell kids is it's okay to feel, but it's not always okay how we react to those feelings, right? And so those are the things. And there are a lot of strategies, like our counselor said, deep breathing sounds like a hokey thing, but honestly, there is research that when you take certain number of breaths in a certain amount of time, you actually do reduce your heart rate and calm yourself down, right? There are a lot of multi-sensory tools as well. Sometimes kids love looking at a glitter jar, right? Because watching the glitter settle is something that just kind of calms their mind. You might want to try it at home yourself, but those are some of the things that are really, really helpful. And sometimes kids are not at a point when they're seeing red, they're not at a point where you can start to talk to them about these things because they're not ready. So, the worst thing, and I can think about it as a kid myself, my mom would want to talk to me, and the last thing I wanted to do was have anyone tell me that, anything, and I just would have to, and I think about it now. So saying, hey, we need to talk about this. Are you ready to talk about it? Okay, no, if you're not, but we are going to talk about it, but waiting until they kind of can come back to more of a ground level, because as you know, when anyone's agitated, right? When someone cuts you off on Route 10, you're not like, oh, have a blessed day, Father, you should be saying that, right? But you might not be, right? And so I think thinking about those things and how are we, and guess what? Your kid sees you, giving a hand signal to someone else in the car, and guess what? They've now learned, oh, it's okay when I'm angry to do that, right? Or it's okay to act, when someone cuts in front of you or spills something on you, and I think there's a lot of power in looking at ourselves. I have to be honest, growing up, they didn't teach any of this stuff, right? It really wasn't something that we were focused on. And so now we have a responsibility to try to lead and model something that we truly were not equipped with, right? So it's hard to do. I tell everyone, having worked in elementary school as well, every adult should go back to elementary school, because when you can just talk about being kind and caring and friendly and having those, conversations with kids and saying, I feel upset when you do this, and teaching them the I statements, those are all things that every single adult in this room, myself included, would benefit from. So I think in general, a lot of the things that, that we're talking about are really, really, I don't want to minimize, obviously, the severity of what mental health can get to, but a lot of these things we're talking about can really address the roots of things before they get to a point where you do see some of these other situations that start to play out. And obviously there are unique situations that happen, and as Ms. Finelli said, there are mechanisms in place to hopefully keep people as safe as we can. But this is something that we are obviously committed to, and really starts the work at a young age. So, we're here for the kids. Obviously, we realize there's probably people from other communities and other municipalities. This is not something that is unique to Hanover Township. It's not, mental health does not discriminate. It does not know borders, genders, race, sexual orientation, any of it, right? It can affect anyone at any time. But truthfully, I think I'd like to shift the mindset of we should all care about our mental health, because mental health shouldn't be a bad thing. We all care about, hopefully you care about your health. You go to the doctor, you get a physical, right? We might not have those mechanisms in place for mental health, but we should care just as much about our mental health as we do about all of the other parts of our mind and body. So, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate this opportunity, and obviously if there's questions that come up, we're happy to chime in throughout the night, but I know there's a packed agenda to go, so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Toomey. There is going to be a portion for question and answers, but I told you to be prepared for this question, and this is very important because we are recording it. A lot of people are going to watch it from the privacy of their own homes. But you said something very interesting, and it was, I don't know what to do. A lot of parents don't know what to do, and sometimes they hope it's not that big of a deal, and maybe it's nothing. I know the Mental Health Association has a mechanism in place where you can talk to them, and they don't know who you are. People are available 24 hours a day. How can a parent contact our school system and not worry about stigmatizing their child for calling up and, quote, telling on somebody or looking as if they can't handle the problem on their own, because sometimes they don't know if it's a problem, but what if it is and you miss it? What do we have in place for that type of service?
So,
You want to go? Yeah, you start, and I'll piggyback.
so anytime a parent calls in, if I have a conversation with a parent and they are asking me something and they're not sure of what to do in a situation, it's okay. I'm pretty loud.
I'm getting my miles in.
If they're not sure of what to do, we do keep everything confidential. You know, I want the parents to be able to trust us, and I want the students to be able to trust us. So that part of it, if they're worried about what to do, if they want resources, we have a whole list of resources that we can give out to parents at any time for mental health providers that we've worked with. But also, I want the parents to be able to trust me, and a lot of times, after talking with them, they're feeling more comfortable with me meeting with their child and understanding that we want what's best for their child. And after these kinds of conversations, and I'll invite them in, we can have a meeting, and so we work together a plan to best help their child. And it could be many different situations. It doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, a self-harm situation. It could be something, a bullying situation, which we will look into. We take very seriously in Hanover Township, because obviously that leads to long-term mental health situations at times. But we do take our confidentiality and working with our parents and our students very seriously. And we don't ever let the teachers know specifics of anything. We want to make sure that the students know that it stays with us. The only time we do, if a child comes in our office and we are talking, the only time we do have to break confidentiality is if they are going to harm themselves or somebody else, and we make sure that they are aware of that. And we have a whole protocol that we do have to follow.
What grades do you study?
We are in the grade 6 to 8 school.
Okay, what about lower grades? Kindergarten and up?
So they have their own counselor in each building as well.
So Justin, just to conclude with that question, and thank you for that answer, I appreciate it. Rudy Giuliani, when he's the mayor of New York, made the slogan, "See something, say something," very popular.
Yep.
And I was just joking with Chief Locke prior to this meeting. People call us on the governing body and ask us to call the police if they see something. So let us help you, all of us, to let people know that it's very, very easy to reach out to the school. It will be in confidence. And we want everybody to know, and that's why we're here tonight, anything we could do to help you and help our families, to let people know these services are available, and it will be off the record. And again, nobody's alone. Everybody that's raised children, I bet if we compared stories, we all pretty much went through the same thing. But I really appreciate you, what you do, that you're here, and Mr. Toomey will be here throughout the night with us, and he's available probably 18 hours a day, right, Mr. Toomey?
Depends on the day. Yeah, thank you. Just have one more thing. And I'll just add one more thing, you know, I think in general, to Mr. Mayor's point, you know, if something's happening at 10 o'clock at night, like, you are certainly welcome to email a principal or a school counselor, but we, you know, schools, we are not equipped to have a 24/7 support, right? So we always say there's the suicide crisis hotline, right, 988, obviously, or if there's really something that's, if you're really concerned, call 911. And I'll give you an example. You know, a parent was very concerned because their child had mentioned another kid had said something, and so the parent is reaching out at 10 o'clock at night trying to get teachers, principals, and all that, which is lovely, and we appreciate that, but we have to realize that, you know, we're not, that's not, I don't want to say that's not what we're there for, but we're there to help and support, but we're not equipped to be that, right? So we obviously will address it as a school, like the next day, we're happy to help and make sure that we're having those conversations in a confidential manner, but if there's something that's really imminent, it's really important that people utilize the other services, and of course we would want to know that as a school, because then we can help support. You know, I can tell you right now, there are certain kids currently in Hanover Township that are not attending school, but they're attending an inpatient program that is because of some mental health challenges, and we as a school district are responsible, and this is the same for every district, public school in New Jersey, we are responsible for providing the home instruction portion of it. So we basically get a bill for the hours of home instruction that support that child, because that child obviously is still entitled to an education. situation, even if they are having those mental health challenges. But there are scenarios, and like I said, right now there are a few that are in that situation currently as I'm talking to all of you right now. So, there are a lot of things in place, and what I find is, unfortunately, people aren't always as receptive, or they don't want to hear it until it's there, like I said earlier. And so hopefully, it's like you don't want to learn how to put the fire out in your house, God forbid, when the house is on fire. You want to have a plan before that. It's the same thing with mental health, right? You want to have that plan, before, or at least have an awareness of those resources, those mechanisms, that are here. And I think, like Mr. Mayor said, see something, say something. If you're not sure, that's okay, right? It's not like we're going to be going and saying, oh, so-and-so reported and called and said that you're doing this, this, and this. We would rather know, and if you're not sleeping at night because it's keeping you up, then you should reach out to a counselor, a principal, at our schools. Even if you send them an email at 10 o'clock at night, they will get back to you. Won't be that night, but they will get back to you, because it is important that we are having that strong partnership. So as the mayor mentioned, I will be here for questions as well, but there are a lot of mechanisms in place depending on the severity of people's, mental health state.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Okay, next up, Tracy has basically become not that secret of a weapon in Hanover Township. You become a very big part of our family, and you do a lot of great work. And tonight, Tracy's going to be talking about signs of struggling with mental health, signs of struggling in the classroom, how to be a trusted adult, and ways to start a conversation. And Tracy will also be talking about services that the Mental Health Association offers for all of our families, all ages. So Tracy, please take the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So good evening, everyone. A little bit about me. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been in the field for over 20 years. And if you remember that long title that I gave you in the beginning, I kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about what that is. So NJ4S is a pretty new program. It's been around, we're actually in our second year. It was created through the Department of Children and Families because the state realized that our youth are struggling, especially after COVID. So they created this program. It's a statewide program. The Mental Health Association, we oversee programs in Morris and Sussex counties. And what are those programs? So we provide education to parents, school faculty, and we bring in evidence-based prevention programs to students, and we also provide brief counseling to students as well. And our services are available for 6th through 12th grade. But if you aren't from Morris or Sussex counties, like I said, this program is in every county across New Jersey. So if you need help navigating that, you could always contact me. My information is going to be at the end. But again, and all our services are free. We work in many of the local school districts here as well. I forgot I had the clicker. So and it's a fancy clicker and it's not working. So why this matters. Mr. Toomey spoke on the statistics. 1 in 5 youth struggle with a mental health issue. But those are the only ones that are actually receiving services, right? So there's so many others that are still struggling. Even though it's 2025, there's still so much stigma surrounding mental health. I just saw, you might have to click for me, Krista.
Where are you? Are you
Here, right here, so this is perfect. I just saw a statistic today from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention of New Jersey that suicide is the second leading cause of death among children and youth in New Jersey. So that's why talking about mental health, talking about suicide is so important. I was listening to this father speak who lost his son a few days before his 13th birthday to suicide, and he said, you know, I didn't want to talk about suicide, but he's like, I realized after the fact that I should have been talking about mental health, that I should have been talking about suicide, to normalize that conversation. So maybe my son would have reached out for help because I wasn't talking about it. Maybe he felt like he couldn't talk to me about it. So that's why, Mayor Gallagher, I love that you're focusing so much on mental health, because we really do. The more we talk about it, the more we reduce that stigma. So early intervention could really change lives. Mr. Toomey said this. early onset, 14 years old, our youth are struggling with their mental health. This is the time where they're developing their social, emotional learning, academic pressure, and then on top of that, they can have mental health struggles as well. Let me see if the clicker works, Krista. No, it doesn't. So myth, people can't just snap out. People can, just snap out of being anxious. And we know that's not true, right? We could get stressed out about a test. We could get stressed out about, me even being up here. I could be stressed and have anxiety about presenting in front of you all. But once I'm done, that stress, that anxiety is going away. But when someone has an anxiety disorder, that's very different. It affects their entire area. It affects every area of their life. So we just need to keep that in mind. People might suffer from panic attacks, which is a sign of anxiety. Next slide. So teens can just calm down and get over it on their own. That's not the case. People, need help. There's lots of services in the community for counseling. So it's not just about calming down and getting over it. I know Mr. Toomey said that. It's all about how we talk to our youth too. Every kid's anxious. And that's not the case when someone has an anxiety disorder. Again, it affects every area of your life. Next slide. So here are some of the symptoms. Unrealistic apprehension. And I'll give you an example. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And when I'm under a lot of stress, my anxiety tends to increase. So I'm overseeing this walk that we're doing, which I'll talk about at the end, in a week and a half. And I was in the shower last night, and I went to close the shower door, and I slammed it on my foot. And I was like, oh my God, what if I break my toes? I'm not going to be able to oversee and run this event that we're having. How is this happening? So it's kind of like I just kept going over it and over it and over it. So it's trying to break that cycle too. Fears, worry. It could be unrealistic. I mean, look at me. I thought I broke my toes. I didn't, by the way. So that's always good. But it's those ruminating thoughts. And sometimes it could be really, really, really hard to break that cycle. For me, and this is just me personally, being on medication has helped me really shut down those thoughts. As soon as I start to think them, my brain's like, okay, you said it once, like time to move it along. So again, I'm not recommending medication to everyone, but for me, it really has helped. Agitation, irritability, panic attacks, like I said, and let's be honest. I mean, I could speak from being a kid a long time ago. We always had our ups and downs in our moods. Sometimes we weren't very nice, especially I know I wasn't very nice to my mom sometimes. So I got irritable. But when you start to see other symptoms along with that irritability, that's when you might want to think, okay, what's going on here? And to Mr. Toomey's point too, sometimes we focus a lot on that behavior and not why that behavior is happening. I know this wonderful young lady whose son died by suicide, and all of a sudden he started getting into fights at school, and she was like, I was focused on that behavior. I was focused on, okay, well, you're grounded, you don't get your phone. And she's like, I didn't really focus on why it was happening. So that's something to take with you as well. So on the next slide, so there's that rigid thinking pattern. So perfectionism, you have to be the best of the best. Catastrophic thinking. So it's like, oh, well, if one thing's go wrong, everything's going to go wrong. And then the one path myth. I only have one path. I need to stay on that path. I can't deviate from that path. So if you think of all those, I mean, that's already stress-inducing to begin with. Next slide. So anxiety, insomnia. I don't have a problem falling asleep, but staying asleep, it's overthinking. It's those thoughts that keep racing through your head. inability to focus, low energy. Because when you think about it, when someone has all this anxiety going on in their brain, it's just exhausting because, again, you can't break that cycle. Next slide. So when we're talking about depression, it's just a phase. Everyone can be sad. It's normal to be sad. Absolutely. I will actually bet my salary for the entire year that everyone in this room has been sad at one point in their life. Am I wrong? Okay. So that's good. So I don't have to give up my year salary. But when we're talking about depression, it's a whole different ballgame. So again, it's just like anxiety. It affects every area of your life. You give up the things that you enjoy. You give up your friends. So it's very different than just being sad. Next slide. And you know, when we're talking about sadness, it's kind of like stress. So we all feel sad over a period of time. Like I had to put my dog to sleep a few years ago, and that devastated me, and I was very sad, but I was still able to go to work, to, take care of my hygiene, have meaningful relationships. But when we're talking about depression, again, I know I keep saying the same thing, but it's worth repeating. It really affects every area of your life. So all teens are irritable. He just has an attitude. He's not sad. He can't be depressed. And I think like when we think of depression, all we really think is that piece of sadness, someone crying all the time. But it's so much more. Irritability is definitely a sign of depression. And again, what specific symptoms that someone might have could be very different than what someone else is showing. So that's why it's so important to know those signs and symptoms. Next slide. So what depression feels like? Again, sadness, frustration, irritability. So loss of interest is a big one. Whether we're talking about anxiety, depression, suicide, loss of interest in things that a youth enjoys doing. Let's say they're on the basketball team and all of a sudden they quit. If they stop hanging out with their friends, maybe their family. Sometimes at 45, I still struggle hanging out with my family. So really it's more giving up those friendships that really we need to have a conversation. Maybe it isn't struggling with a mental health issue, but maybe they're struggling with something else. Next slide. So feelings of worthlessness, we hear this a lot when someone's feeling suicidal. I feel like a burden, I feel trapped. And another reason why early intervention is so important is because when we're talking about risk factors for suicide, having a mental health issue is one of the most significant risk factors. But I will say, just because you're diagnosed with a mental health issue, it doesn't mean that you're going to attempt or die by suicide. But again, that's why early intervention is so important. Self-criticism, when people are depressed, they think that they're not worthy of anything, that they're so stupid, that they can't do anything right. They have trouble concentrating, and they have this inability to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes my mom even says to me, "You got to think positive," which, by the way, I hate when my mom says that. But so it's about a lot of that negative thinking. And again, we're going to be talking later on as a parent or someone that has a relationship with a youth, what to say and what not to say. Clearly, that's one of the things you don't want to say. Next slide. So atypical depression symptoms. So being overly apologetic, forgetfulness, sometimes maybe even people, we see this smiling depression with adults, where you put on this happy face, you go to work, and then when you come home, you're utterly exhausted and you just crash. Forgetfulness, because when people are depressed, when individuals are depressed, it really takes everything in them to get up, to get dressed, to brush their teeth. So we have to remember that. So when someone's experiencing those symptoms, a lot of things fall by the wayside. Next slide. So what you might see in a student, so falling asleep in class, and I think that the main point about this too is a change in behavior. So if all of a sudden you have a student in your class and they used to be an A student and now you see them falling asleep, something might be going on. If they're skipping lunch or overeating, if they start using alcohol. I know one of these young ladies in the front talked about how mental health and substance use co-occur. We see that a lot. So meaning a lot of people might use substances to kind of maybe dull the pain, or, you know, when we're talking about anxiety, if someone has social anxiety, they might have a few drinks before they go out. So slowed thinking, you know, agitation, restlessness, they might not be able to sit still. Like I said, they might get into fights more often or in general at school. Next slide. So other things, we see this a lot in the younger kiddos, physical symptoms. So they might go to the nurse more often. They might be sitting alone at the lunch table. All of a sudden they might be failing their class. They may be saying, school's stupid, I hate school, it's pointless, when they used to be an A student. They might start self-harming or making a suicide attempt or a plan. Next slide. So when to be concerned. So it's about duration, intensity, and impact, right? So if someone's really moody for a few days and that's all, okay, so, you know, maybe they're struggling, maybe they're, I don't know, fighting with a friend, but if you see a pattern of behavior and it lasts for several weeks, that's when you should be like, okay, well, maybe it's more than just being sad. Maybe it's more than just being irritated. Next slide. I said in the beginning that we go into schools and provide prevention programming to students. And we give surveys out after our programs. And you'll see in this next few slides from now, could even be the next one, I don't remember. When we give out a survey, we ask, one of the questions we ask is, what do you consider a characteristic of someone being a trusted adult? Do you have a trusted adult in your life? And like I said, in a few slides, you'll see some of the answers from students. That's why it's so important that as a trusted adult, we listen without judgment. So I always say listening is really hard and being non-judgmental is really hard. And then when we put them both together, it's twice as hard. Especially when everyone has a million and one other things going on in their life. Being consistent. So if you say to your child, after dinner, you know, we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation. And then you start cleaning and then something else happens and your child's like, oh, are we gonna talk? Later, and later becomes the end of the night and your child's going to sleep. So again, consistency is so important. Providing emotional safety. You know, like Mr. Toomey was saying, you know, we all remember what we went through when we were young and how, like, probably our parents maybe thought we were overreacting a bit, but they didn't say that, right? So, like, I can remember my first breakup. I thought after that breakup, when I was 16, I was going to die alone. I found my soulmate, and I was going to be alone forever. And my mom was like, it's okay, you know, it's normal to feel what you're feeling, you know, during a breakup, when really in her mind, she's probably like, oh my God, like, you're 16. So it's really important that we really listen to the student, especially if they're coming, or you're a youth in your life, especially if they feel comfortable talking to you and coming up and having a difficult conversation with you. Because think of it as adults, right? It's hard for us to ask for help. And imagine being a youth, maybe struggling with some mental health issues, how that must be even more stressful, and it must be more hard, because as youth, young people, they don't want to be a burden on their family. You know, they don't want to cause any problems. So again, that's why it's so important if a youth comes to talk to us that we give them our full attention. Next slide. So here's some what kids are saying about being a trusted adult. So it's someone who believes in me, someone who listens and doesn't lecture. And I think as parents, we want to fix things. We have a problem, our child says, this is my problem, okay, let's fix it. And sometimes, even as adults, you just want to be heard. That's more important than trying to be like, okay, this is what you need to do, right? It's just listening instead of advice giving. Someone who doesn't freak out when I tell them the hard stuff, and someone who believes in me. And I think, as we think as adults, how awesome is it to have someone in your corner that thinks you're amazing, right? Like something happens at work and you text your person, whoever that is, and they're like, oh my God, that's awesome, I'm so proud of you. It makes you feel good. I know it makes me feel good. So imagine your child saying, Mom, Dad, I got an A on my test. And having your parents say, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Next slide. So how to build trust. And a child can have more than one trusted adult. It's not just a one-all be-all. And you could have a trusted adult for some things and another trusted adult for other things. But here's how to build trust. Show up. I think that's so important. If you say you're going to give them time to talk, give them time to talk. Make sure you talk free of distractions. I had a supervisor who did this all the time. I'd be talking to her, and all of a sudden she would pick up her phone and start texting, and I'm like, really? Like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. So it's really important to talk to them in a quiet space, a private space, and give them your full attention. Respect their feelings. Again, we don't want to say, oh my God, you're being so dramatic, like you're 16, you'll get over it. Validate rather than dismiss, and be honest, and again, follow through. And continue to build that rapport, that support, continuously check in, because maybe a youth, however they show up in your life, might not be ready to talk in that moment, but if you continuously check in with them, one day they might, or they know, hey, listen, like I know this person really cares about me, they continue to check in, I'm gonna go to them. Next slide. So common barriers. Again, that judgment. Let's think about that. If someone's being judgmental about something, are you gonna go and talk to them? Probably not. I remember when I was young and I told my dad that I was diagnosed with depression, which to me, I was so glad to actually find out what this was that I was feeling. I told my dad, and he was like, depression? What do you have to be depressed about? So again, it's about reacting with empathy, minimizing, we don't want to minimize their feelings, again, like my dad as an example, and jumping to solutions. So again, it's not necessarily about fixing that problem in that moment, it's having a conversation about that problem. And the last one's about really for school, and I know the young ladies from the middle school and high school touched on that, but there's different times where you might have to break confidentiality. Next slide. So what not to say? You have nothing to be sad about. You're fine. You're being so dramatic. And listen, we're not perfect all the time, right? We say stuff that isn't right. It's about the recovery. And sometimes we say something wrong, we don't mean it to be wrong. We're coming from a place of really like love and caring. And I could give you another example. So in 2016, I had a seizure. First seizure, couldn't drive, was on medication that made me feel not great. They didn't know why I had it. And I remember my best friend said to me, well, it could always have been worse. And yeah, 100%, like I wasn't driving, someone was home with me, but in that moment I was like, well, yeah, I guess. So she wasn't trying to be mean, she wasn't trying to dismiss my feelings, she was trying to help, but in that moment I was like, okay, yeah, but it still didn't change the way I felt about my situation. Next slide. So, well, we know someone might be struggling, we know something might be going on, but what do we say next? And like Mr. Toomey said, it's so important to use I statements. It's like, think about it, like, if, your spouse forgets to take out the garbage, what are you going to say? You forgot to take out the garbage, so we don't want to use those you statements. We want to say I statements. I've noticed a change in your behavior. And it's always good, I feel like, to give specific examples. I was actually talking to my coworker today, and I was like, imagine someone was like, oh, are you okay? You seem sad. And you say, okay, well, how do I seem sad? Well, I don't know. You just seem sad. I don't know. So that's why I think it's so important to give specific examples. Like, I see that you're eating by yourself at the lunch table. Is something going on? You don't seem to be participating in class. Why aren't you hanging out with your friends on Saturday? You always hang out with them. Is something going on? So, I wanted to check in on you. I'm worried about you. Mayor Gallagher said this, you're not alone. I'm here for you. There's such great statements, and they could show support. And you don't have to have the answers. I mean, none of us have all the answers. It's just that providing that support. Next slide. So does anyone, this will be really quick because I know I'm like way over time, which I never am because usually I'm at the end and I have to speed up my presentation. So does anyone want to give me an example of when someone's listening to them? Shout it out.
Eye contact.
Eye contact, thank you. One more. Nodding, absolutely. How do we know when someone isn't listening?
They're on their phone.
They're on their phone. Thank you. And how does it feel when someone doesn't listen to us? Just shout it out.
Frustrating.
Frustrating, thank you. Would you maybe talk to them if you went to talk to them about something serious and they weren't listening? So that's what we have to keep in mind, especially when we're considering our youth. Next slide. So how do we listen non-judgmentally? And I said a lot of these to begin with. You could throw them all up there. Krista, is she down there? Oh, yeah. You can throw them all up there. So again, it's about allowing that youth to talk, not interrupting them, providing support. No, that's okay. This is one of my favorite things to say. You could skip ahead. And remember, it's about that young person and not you. Like if someone's talking about a breakup, as an adult, you being like, I remember my first breakup. This is what you got to do. I can guarantee you it's almost completely different. So this is my favorite quote. When we listen, we hear someone into existence. Next slide. So what they'll remember most, sometimes it's not even what you say, it's how you treat them, how you support them, that you stayed calm, and I think the last point is really the most important, is that you didn't give up on them. Next slide. So final thoughts, early signs matter. Early intervention could really help in the long run. It could help from symptoms getting worse. It could help that individual from maybe potentially having thoughts of suicide. Trust is built in everyday moments, and starting that conversation really could save a life. Next slide. Here are some resources. This is our Teen Connect line. It's actually from the Mental Health Association. It's run by young people, for young people. It's a call or text line. It's open Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there's a QR code that you could scan there. Next slide, Krista. Youth resources, Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 988. It's a great resource. Second floor, it's for New Jersey youth. If they're struggling, they could contact or text the second floor. Trevor Lifeline is for youth in the LGBTQ plus community. The Crisis text line is also another great line. Next slide. I feel like I'm looking at no one. It's like the Wizard of Oz. So here are some teen lines. These are operated by young people. The first one's amazing. It's actually run out of California. It started in the 80s. So they're really like the first line that's run by young people. I know the times seem really weird, but that's because they're out of California, but they're great. When we were starting our line, I actually contacted them a lot and picked their brain about a lot of things. Okay, next slide. So there's my information. If you have any questions, if there's a question you want to ask and maybe you don't catch me at the end, you could always call or email me, or maybe there's a question that you don't want to ask in front of the group. That's my information. Before I turn it over, you'll see these flyers outside. There's 2 sets of them. My department, NJ4S, is partnering with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to put on a Hike for Hope. Don't worry, it's just a walk. It's not a hike. You don't have to have trail shoes or anything to participate. And all the donations, all the proceeds go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's May 31st at Camp Jefferson. What a great thing to do to bring your family, show support to your community, and also show the youth in your life, hey, listen, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay for you to talk to me about mental health or suicide. I'm here for you. So it's a great way to start a conversation with the youth, and we're gonna have various activities besides the walk there. So that's my pitch. I'm done. I went over forever, but.
First of all, thank you very much, Krista. You did an incredible job.
Yes, thank you. To the woman behind the curtain.
Tracy, I just want to be clear that you and Mr. Toomey did not have a hard stop tonight, so you...
Yeah, I went way over.
But before we move on, I just want to say, also let us know how we can help you, how we can empower everybody to bring as many people to you and your organization. But the one thing I want to say about young people with texting versus speaking, I learned 2 seminars ago about your texting service. And these youngsters that really want to talk to somebody and also want to be, not anybody know who they are, they can text these numbers. And it's almost like they have a friend, and a friend that understands them very well.
Yeah.
So thank you for everything you do, and we're going to do everything we could to work with you and for you. So thank you very much again, Tracy.
Thank you.
Now, Morris County Sheriff James Gannon could not be here tonight, but James Gannon, I've said it before, is an absolute godsend. The work he has done, the thousands and thousands of people that he has helped and continues to help. His programs are second to nobody. I mean, his programs are unbelievable. Steve Shaw is a big part of the county as a commissioner, works with Sheriff Gannon. But we do have Chief Jack Ambrose here tonight. And Sheriff Gannon may be Morris County's big brother. Chief Ambrose is our brother, and a very incredible human being that's out there 24 hours a day. So, Chief, if you would like to take the floor just for a few minutes and discuss some different things the Sheriff's Department is doing right now.
I will be brief. Ace, thank you so much. This is such a great program. We have our subject matter experts here that are rock stars. And we currently have a new rock star, Mr. Toomey. He's unbelievable. Behavior is a symptom. We have to drill down and find out what that symptom is. And I'm going to go make myself a glitter jar when I go home. I never thought of that. I'm going to try that. Again, thanks, Ace. So Hope One is Sheriff Gannon's baby. All right, when he was running for sheriff, he hit 5,000 houses. And talk to people. What was the number 1 problem and it was addiction. Addiction touches everybody's lives, one way or another. So he got people who he says were smarter than him together, and they came up with a model, and it became Hope One. Hope One includes a plainclothes sheriff's officer, who tonight is Chelsea Whiting, a clinician, and what sheriff calls the secret sauce is a peer recovery specialist who can talk to the person on a one-on-one level. That's the secret. That's the road to success for the Hope One program. I'm going to ask Chelsea to go over the stats at the end, but it's a mobile access recovery vehicle. We go out to the community and meet them at their level, meet them where they are, and we're available for them to come to us. We have tremendous partnerships with MHA, all the different mental health services, all the addiction recovery services that we partner with. We also partner with the county, also temporary assistance, homeless solutions. if you come to us, if we seek you out and find you, we'll provide you with the services. So it's a really good program. It's a model throughout the country. It's spreading throughout the country. It's even spreading into New York City. So it's moving in leaps and bounds, and it's just a tremendous, non-judgmental public service. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, Chelsea, you have the latest stats, right?
Yep.
So listen to some of these stats. They're really good.
Okay, good evening. I'm Chelsea Whiting. I'm with the Morris County Sheriff's Office. I specifically work on Hope One, and then we have a partner program called Hope Hub. So what we do is we work with 77 different agencies throughout Morris County, and we're able to connect anybody struggling, not just with mental health or substance use, right? We could connect anybody to any service that is out there. So right now we have over 703 clients. We started in 2020, so I've been very busy, and our success rate is about 98%. So we're really just dedicated to working with the individuals, having a judgment-free, right? No stigma. You can come to me. I've heard it all, or at least I think I've heard it all until I hear the next thing. But we're just out there helping people. Cup of coffee and the conversation. That's what the sheriff likes to say. In regards to Hope One, we have handed out since 2017 11,569 Narcan kits. We've gotten 525 individuals connected to mental health services. We've gotten 116 people to family support in terms of one of their loved ones was struggling with substance use. We've had 223 individuals report that they needed recovery services, and 146 individuals that were taken to rehab. So we're a one-stop shop. We're out Monday through Friday, 9 to 2, Saturdays, Sundays, Wednesdays, whatever time, whatever day, we are out in the community. You can find us on the Morris County Sheriff's Office webpage. Type in Hope One. Our calendar is up there. And since inception, we've had over 58,000 contacts. So if anybody has any questions, anybody struggling, please, we have a table outside. I'll be here after. I'm more than happy to talk to you about anything. I've had it hit my family closely, right? So I totally understand from the family support side, my experience, right, dealing with the individual. So all around mental health, substance use co-occurring, as Tracy was saying before. So anybody that needs anything, please feel free to reach out to us. My telephone number is 973-285-6677. That goes directly to my email, so if you leave a voicemail, I will be sure to get back to you. We are pretty much around the clock, but next business day for sure, I will definitely give you a call back. All right, that's all I got. You're welcome.
So before we move on, I just want to say the common denominator so far is you're not alone. Look at these people, look at these services, and everyone is available to you, and so far at no cost. Beautiful, beautiful, selfless people that want to help you. I'm very proud of this next one too, because more than once somebody talked to me about the ARIVE program. And sure enough, Hanover Township PD, Chief Michael Loock, before I even had the opportunity to ask the chief or our liaison to public safety, Brian Cahill, about ARIVE, we were told ARIVE is in Hanover Township. So Chief, what is ARIVE and what is the benefit to the people you serve?
Thank you, Mayor. So the basis of ARIVE is to improve an outcome that the police have interaction with someone going through a mental health crisis. It's a program that would hopefully divert those individuals out of the criminal justice system and into treatment or assistance through whatever programs are provided. Hanover Township officers are responding to hundreds of calls, and none of them are the same. But it's those calls dealing with mental health that we need expert advice and assistance with. When a car breaks down, we call a tow truck. So when someone is breaking down mental health and going through some sort of tragic incident, we look to the ARIVE program and the clinicians that are involved in that. So they can respond to confused or disoriented people that the officers come across. They can assist us with a welfare check, maybe a neighbor called in, concerned about their neighbor, family member, a coworker that hasn't seen their coworker for some time. The clinicians can help us out with those. So the basis of the program is that the clinicians are in Hanover Township 1 day a week, from morning to night, and they can follow up on those calls with our residents or people that are temporarily living here in Hanover Township. There's times where those clinicians have come out with the officers soon after the arrival, or followed up next day, or a phone call to provide services to those residents of Hanover Township. We've been fortunate enough to be involved in this program through the prosecutor getting involved on a county level and bringing it down to the municipal agencies, and then having an MOU with the ARIVE program that has been provided to us gives our officers additional training, additional resources, and that expert that can come out to a scene and assist and get those resources to the people that need them the most. The other benefit is that then those officers are able to free up and handle other calls for service that there may be, and not going back to those residents repeatedly. We have the clinicians following up on those calls for service. So that is a huge benefit to make the most of our time and bring the people out to those calls for service that are able to help them more specifically than we are. The program started in Morris County last year, and fortunately enough, Hanover Township was close behind on getting on the program. But I'd like to have Chief Assistant Prosecutor Rodriguez just talk about how this program came to Morris County and Hanover Township, and provide some insight into the program itself.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Meg Rodriguez. I am an assistant prosecutor here in Morris County. I've been blessed at this point in my career to be able to work on the ARIVE program and our crisis intervention training teams, which really ultimately go to supporting the ARIVE program. All of this has really been brought to us through Prosecutor Carroll. He has been a huge advocate for helping people with any type of mental health or mental illness, and recognizing that, these really are medical calls as opposed to criminal calls a lot of the times, and that's really how they should be addressed. ARIVE actually started in New Jersey, in South Jersey, down in Cumberland County, and it was a partnership between the state police and their local screening center. The goal at that point in time was to get the screeners out to these mental health calls quickly, as opposed to waiting for the screeners to come out and to try to deal with this situation. And it would be to deal with any type of behavioral health call. What happened then is that the Attorney General's office said, we really want to expand this throughout the state, and we're going to figure out how we're going to do that. And we were approached by the Attorney Generals, and they said, hey, how's it going to work in Morris County? So we were fortunate in the sense that we didn't have to go with a cookie cutter approach. And what we're learning at this point in time is, even though we started off with one vision of this program, which is basically, as the chief said very well, it is a co-response program in that we have our clinicians who are in-house in various towns 1 day a week, and then they do follow-up work because the officers are still going to be going out on those calls when we don't have the clinician in-house. They'll follow up on those calls, and the goal is, with the follow-up work, that we're not going to have to keep going back out, right? So to get the people the attention and the help and the connections that they need. That's how it started. and we had our little list of behavioral health calls. So if somebody was potentially showing suicidal ideation, or if somebody was confused, or maybe if they had some other type of diagnosis and they were calling 911, and that's how they came to us. But ARIVE is really growing in ways that we never expected. And we have two of our clinicians right here in the front row. We have Julia and Caitlin, and they've seen and contributed to the ways that we can expand. First of all, for ARIVE, which we're very fortunate, we're not limited to just dealing with adults. We have dealt with children from like 5 years old. We've gotten referrals on in some of the towns that we've been in. And we've dealt with cases ranging from your suicidal ideation to homicidal statements to people with dementia. But really where we've started to also expand into is with our clinicians accompanying families on domestic violence cases. We've had them assist on death notifications. We started off in Morris County, initially in 8 towns. Each of the two pilots, the prosecutor's laughing at me right now, but they had their little nicknames, but now we've had to change them because Hanover came in to the M towns, and obviously there's no M in Hanover, but that we made it work anyway. But now we're happy to announce that we are expanding throughout all of Morris County. We are literally signing the memorandum of understanding today, for the most part, with a number of the towns, and we expect to be full service. And when I say full service, I mean Monday through Friday. Here in Hanover, we are still going to be 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Some of the towns that we're going into are going to be 10 to 6. But there's such a need for this type of attention. One, because we are seeing and recognizing the issues with mental health that need to be addressed, and just that law enforcement needs that assistance. I have to say though, when ARIVE started rolling out, and having been an assistant prosecutor for a really long time, I can take a lot of pride in what I've always observed with our police officers. We're blessed in Morris County that they have always been really well trained. They are very sensitive to the needs of their constituents, and they truly care. So, ARIVE is a great thing, and I'm so proud of the team that MHA has been putting together, and again, thankful to be able to work with it. I really do have to give a lot of credit to all of our officers who are constantly working and still going out to those scenes, and the sensitivity and care that they show is, to me, it's unmatched. And as a sheriff and the prosecutor always like to say, we just do it better in Morris, and it is the truth. So we do have some additional information outside on the ARIVE program. Julia has been, she's like, I'm not going to say anything. Julia has been working on the program since almost the beginning. Caitlin is literally just starting, and we're looking forward to having her. So I want to thank everybody for their support in this. Chief, we really appreciated coming into Hanover, and it's been a great reception, and appreciate the support of the officers. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. One thing I did just want to highlight, our primary liaison for the program is our school resource officer, Paul Weaver. He is in our high school as our full-time SRO in the high school, and he is a certified crisis intervention training officer through the state and the programs that Meg does put on. So I think that's a perfect fit for being in the schools and understanding where these gaps have to be bridged, and how to deal with the students and the issues at home, and how they kind of come to the forefront in those schools. And that's the relationship that we have here in Hanover. We also have the Class 3 officers in the elementary schools, so that helps as well. But I think having Paul Weaver in the school with the training that he has is a great piece of the puzzle that we have here in Hanover. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. I also want to just thank our prosecutor, Carol, and Prosecutor, your office too is phenomenal. I do want to say that the prosecutor is part of the solution, an incredible human being that's always there for us. And several times now you've been in the building with us and trying to do everything you could to help as many people as possible. And again, there's no dais or no boundary between any of us. We're here together and we are available. Thank you, guys. The next piece is actually kind of fun. It's Denise Brennan is going to handle this one, and I just want to say that Denise Brennan is retiring July 1st. This is our last meeting with Denise. And Denise, you are an incredible human being. You've done so much for thousands and thousands of people. We're going to miss you, but I always say that I'm not a selfish friend. I want you to be happy and enjoy your family, but we're going to miss you. So Denise, thank you for everything. Denise is going to discuss healthy tweens and teens need play, prioritization kids' physical and mental health through recreation. And I just want to jump in front of Denise for a second and say that we have one of our karate instructors here. He just stepped out for a second. We also have our head coach to park hockey here, which has handled thousands and thousands of people, Tommy Levis. Thank you for everything you do, Tommy. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me. We have a lot of people in this room that help many, many people through and with Denise. So Denise, please take the floor. Sure. And you do not have a hard stop.
Oh, thank you. So I want to thank you, Mayor Gallagher, and the members of this great panel for including Hanover Township Recreation and part of this important discussion about mental health and wellness. Parks and Recreation, as I think everybody has probably experienced, is an essential public service in establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our community. And while I'm not a specialist in the area of mental health, I do have 40-plus years of experience in dealing with my own 5 children who range in age from 32 to 42. I started having kids at 11. So anyway, I have 1 girl and 4 boys, and I will honestly say that my daughter, who is the oldest, and not to say that drama doesn't exist, but drama existed, and in her adolescence generated the most drama. So we were in the midst of the mean girl frenzy of middle school, and I thought, well, maybe we should go to family therapy, because I think that would be really helpful, and even if not for them, for me, I needed something. And so we took them as a family, and we went, and the therapist provided lots of information about adolescence and help. But she said one thing that really stuck with me, and it's something that really I use even today in my dealings with my job and everything. And so what she said was that adolescence is like a roller coaster ride with all its ups and downs and twists and turns. And she turned to me and she said, do not get on the ride, because your job is to stay on the platform. You have to be the constant in the chaos. And if you get on the ride, then you're doing the ups and downs along with them, and you will be of no value. So sometimes I use that with the governing body. I stand. But anyway, in understanding my role, it made it a little easier to help them find their way. And so the goal tonight is to help middle schoolers and all the people who love them navigate through today's very confusing and difficult world, and the role that recreation plays in that. So my kids are considered millennials, and those, when you look at what that means, they're considered to be digital natives. I'm not quite sure what that means. They're tech savvy, and they have a strong desire for work-life balance. So when reading about this, the current generation that is in middle school, these adolescents are often called Generation Alpha, which means they are the first generation entirely born in the 21st century, which is kind of incredible when you think of it. These screenagers have access to more information and connectivity at an earlier age than any other generation. And they understand how we're connected in the world, from witnessing a virus rapidly move across the globe and affect everyone. They connect with family and friends miles away on FaceTime, and they can develop close relationships through social media with people they may never meet in person. They spend a lot of time on a screen. And while this reliance on technology connects on the screen, it sometimes disconnects in real life. So that's where recreation comes in. So physical activity, it releases endorphins, it reduces stress and anxiety, it boosts mood. Spending time in nature de-stresses the brain and promotes a sense of well-being. So there was a PhD study, it was about playgrounds actually, and that reported that during the tween years, ages 9 to 12, daily physical activity levels decline dramatically, and sometimes doesn't even reach the 60 minutes per day of moderate activity that is recommended by the American Heart Association. And furthermore, tween girls are among the least physically active globally, not just domestically, but globally. So what can be done? And how can recreation help? So understandably, lots of people connect recreation with sports, and that is a very important way that people do connect with recreation. But that's not the only thing that we do, and that's not the only way to encourage physical activity. And as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, for more than 40 years, Hanover Township Recreation has run a fabulous karate program for children ages 5 through adult. And that was started by Sensei Wayne Murky. And that tradition continues with his son, Zachary Murky, who's Sensei now. And he guides our participants through various levels of proficiency. And he is here tonight. I want to thank Zach for continuing his dad's tradition. You know, the karate program, karate's a lot like wrestling, it's just you. It's all you. And he helps create a sense of identity for these kids and helps them through this physical program. And I think that it's important because so many kids attend this program, and it's one of our most popular, and it runs year-round. So, Zach, thank you very much. Recreation activities geared specifically for tweens can help boost their self-esteem and confidence. We run a ski club, and the ski club is for middle schoolers only. So every Friday night in January, we have busloads of tweens who are interested in skiing and snowboarding, and they journey up to Pennsylvania. And here they use this socially active leisure time to strengthen their relationships with one another. So one-on-one, you know, human to human instead of screen to screen. And it also enhances their sense of accomplishment because they take ski lessons and snowboarding lessons, and they come back with some extra, so hopefully some new friends and some better skills. And one of the biggest things that we deal with, you won't believe this, or maybe you will if you're a parent, is busing. We have 2 buses. Well, can my kid be on bus A? Because, you know, Johnny's on bus A, and he is my best friend, my son's best friend, and they have to be together. And so we say no. No, we don't say no. We say we'll do our best, but it's not such a bad thing that for a half an hour or 45-minute ride up to the mountain that they maybe meet some new friends. So it's kind of worked out well and generated some new friendships. So sometimes saying no works. Participation in recreation events such as our robotic courses, it reduces time online, on social media, and on phones. We recently had over the summer a Puzzle-Palooza contest. So that was a puzzle contest where we had teams of up to 6 people. They had 90 minutes to finish a 500-piece puzzle. And that was a family event, so it was really kind of a nice thing to do. And so these kinds of activities contribute to improved cognitive abilities and encourage teamwork. So we like to do events like that. And while it's normal and healthy for kids to pull away from their parents during this time, quality family time is still important. So back in 2020 during the pandemic, and there wasn't much that we could do for recreation, but we could encourage people to go outside. So we put together Hanover walking tours. We have a booklet, it's outside. There are 20 different walks within Hanover Township. And this was a perfect backdrop for parent-child connection while you're in nature. So it's a wonderful way. They can talk, they cannot talk, it doesn't matter, but it's just a beautiful way to get outside, enjoy the outside, and get some exercise. According to the National Institutes of Health, studies suggest that regular outdoor recreation provides mental resiliency to stress. So coming up next week, if you're interested, Hanover Township Recreation is sponsoring a Learn to Fish evening at Malapartis Pond from 6:30 to 7:30. And so this is something that we realized in running our trout derby every year, that, you know, they don't know, kids don't know how to bait a hook or cast a line. And so they would come, and the DPW crew that was working there was always helpful and helping them out, and we thought, well, maybe we'll do like a little clinic ahead of time. And we started last year. It was very popular. We had about 20 kids come with their parents or their grandparents, and some of the guys showed them how to do this, and so we were doing it again. And so it's next week, and then the following week is our fishing contest. And so they get to put those skills to work. And our fishing contest is called Get Hooked on Fishing, Not Drugs. And it is in conjunction with the New Jersey Department of Fish and Wildlife. And so this is for participants throughout Morris County up to 16 years old. It's not limited to just Hanover Township. And the prizes are provided by the Division of Fish and Wildlife and the PBA. And so it's a great event. So we hope you come. That's 8:30. That will be my last event, actually. That's my last recreation event, will be the fishing contest. And I was told I had to measure the fish, but I said, no, I would not. But it's a great event. It's lots of fun, so we hope you can come. So these programs are reflective of the premise that physical activities and leisure activities can contribute to advanced cognitive and adaptive skills. Mental health is also promoted through art and leisure. This is a big thing with our mayor, right, about music. When a child sings or dances and plays games, endorphins, which promote the feeling of well-being, are released. So we've had something for the last couple years which is really interesting, and it's called a silent dance party. And so you say, how can a dance party be silent? Well, what happens is when you come in, you got a set of headphones, and there are 3 different music channels on it. And so you put them on, and you switch to your favorite kind of music, and then you dance, or you sing, or you do both. So it's pretty exciting to walk into a room because you can hear them, but they can't hear themselves, where people are singing and dancing to all different songs and all different music and having a blast. And again, this is something we do as a family event. So it gives everybody a chance to get together and have fun. So everybody's dancing, and they're dancing individually, and they're dancing together. So it works out pretty well. According to the National Parks and Recreation, more time spent in parks and green spaces can help individuals fight against mental health issues like depression and anxiety. So really part of the adolescent experience is wanting to belong to something, and to belong to something bigger than yourself. And so volunteerism is something that is very important, and it encourages resilience and empathy and confidence. And so, for example, sitting in the back, we have a group of young people the mayor invited to come here. They were volunteers who spent an afternoon working at the Stony Brook Community Farm and Garden. And the mayor was so impressed with their work ethic and how hard they work, he invited them to come here tonight. So I'd like to thank all the young people that are here in the green shirts. And they did a wonderful job in working together and cleaning up the garden. So social connections rate high on the list of what's important for tweens. Recognizing the need for organized, supervised, and yet a fun program for teens sounds like it can't happen, right? It can't be organized and have supervision and be fun, but it is. So several years ago, we created the Traveling Teens Camp. And I wish I had thought of this when I had 3 teenagers in a row, because it's really a great program. So during the month of July, we run a camp that features a trip a day, and it's for the middle schoolers. And what they do is every day they get on a bus, and they may go to a Broadway show, or they go to a museum, or they go to a water park, or they visit historic sites. And it is a blast, and it is a great way to introduce them. We introduce them to things perhaps they haven't seen before. The first year we did it, we got a little carried away, and I thought, I want the first trip to be really great. And so we went down to Point Pleasant, went to the beach and the boardwalk. And the kids had a blast, but when they came back, the rec directors are all, the camp directors are all teachers in the Hanover schools. And they said they were terrified because it was the first day with these kids, and they didn't really know them, and they weren't sure, like who does this? Are there any runners? All this kind of stuff. And they said they were terrified, but the kids had a blast. But now we do the Point Pleasant trip later in the day, and we just have breakfast and stuff for them. But it is a great way for them to socialize. They come back. In the beginning, they'd call their parents, say, come pick me up. And now they're like, please don't come pick me up, let me stay, So it's a great program for teenagers, and the middle schoolers really get a chance to connect and get together. So the National Recreation and Park Association really sums it up best. Parks and recreation provide myriad programming options that support health and well-being. So in Hanover Township, from workout classes, from self-directed hikes, parks, green spaces, gardens and camps, recreation is just what the doctor ordered. So in closing, I'd like to say, if you have a program idea for your teen or your tween or something you'd like to see us do, and it doesn't have to be sports, it could be singing, it can be dancing, it could be arts and crafts, but something that you think your teenager would like, please give us a call because we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Now, my colleague, Brian Cahill, right there, oversees succession with the governing body. So, Brian, I think tomorrow you and I should reach out to Denise and maybe have a conference call and try to twist her arm. If you have her stay a little longer. Denise, you do an incredible job. Thank you very, very much. Beautiful work.
I just have to say that I really love Hanover Township. I have loved working here, and it is a great place. And I love Mountain Lakes. I have to say that because Steve, he was my boss first. He was my boss when I was the rec director of Mountain Lakes.
Nobody's your boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell Jim that. But I love recreation, and I loved working here. And this is an incredible town, and the people are really wonderful. So thank you for the opportunity.
But you still married a guy from Bayonne.
I did. I still married a guy from. All roads lead to Bayonne. Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, we have one more item, and it's mental health first aid. And this is a very interesting concept and program, and we are going to be practicing this in Hanover Township, hopefully on a regular basis. Adriana, if you want to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Would you mind if I actually stood up and did my presentation? Because I'm like...
Do you want to do a little test and see if that works?
Oh yeah, the little clicker here.
Uh-oh.
We'll get our back.
All right.
I'm here. She's back. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Would I be able to have maybe the microphone or possibly? Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am just so grateful to be here with you all alongside this governing body, talking and bringing awareness to mental health education, and all the initiatives that we have going on in Hanover Township. I just feel very lucky to be sitting with all of you here. But my name is Adriana and I'm with the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. We have one of our affiliates, Tracy, that serves with Morris and Essex County. But I'm part of the statewide nonprofit organization that serves individuals, adults, children, and families through advocacy, education, training, and a wide variety of different support services. And I would like to say that I am a peer. I'm a person with lived experience. I'm an advocate for mental health literacy, education, and just awareness, mental wellness. So I'm really happy to be here to talk to you all about mental health first aid. So I offered these statistics. I actually prepared this presentation here, but I offered these statistics. A lot of us here touched on all of these topics, but it's really our why we do this work, why it's so important that we have events like this that bring awareness to the challenges that we're facing. So 1 in 5 individuals in the United States, adults and young people alike, are diagnosed with a mental disorder in a single year. Right, so we know that it's common. I love that Mayor Gallagher said that you're not alone in this, right? These things are common, that they happen, and you're not alone. And I want to draw your attention to that lowest dot point here, the 50%, and I think one of our speakers here as well mentioned the statistic that 50% of all mental illnesses begin by age 14 and 75 by age 24. So by the time we're reaching young adulthood, we're seeing the onset of these mental health challenges. And so Tracy touched a little bit on this, but in all of our trainings and when we talk about mental health challenges, it's important to talk about early intervention. And when I do my trainings, I always like to draw a lot of parallels between mental health and physical health. And just like physical health conditions, early intervention is key for better outcomes, right, for the individual that is experiencing those things. Okay, so what is a tool that we can offer our communities to navigate through this public health challenge that we're facing right now in the United States, and that is mental health first aid. Now, has anyone ever heard of mental health first aid or taken a mental health first aid training, or anyone? Okay, so a couple of us. Okay, great. So I'm glad to be here to tell you about it today. So mental health first aid is a public education course. Excuse me. I am a little nervous, so just being honest and transparent, right? Mental health, that's what we're here for, right? So mental health first aid is a public education course that teaches individuals how to identify, understand, recognize, and effectively respond to the signs and symptoms of mental health and substance use challenges in young people and adults. And it is meant to be like standard first aid. That's really the goal and the mission of mental health first aid, is to be as standardized as CPR, because we know the more that people that we train, the more people that we can serve and the more people that we can help. And so if you get trained to be a first aider, you're really getting trained to be that initial support, that first line of support for someone until the appropriate professionals are involved or the appropriate support strategies can intervene on someone's recovery journey. So you're meant to be that person that can be a compassionate presence, that can offer a non-judgmental listening ear, that can know what resources are available out in the community, local and nationally, and really just building relationships and communication between people with mental health challenges and those professionals. Because a lot of times we see those barriers, and so a first aider is really bridging that gap between someone who's experiencing those mental health challenges and the appropriate supports, so those professionals or self-help and other support strategies. And I love mental health first aid because anyone can learn these skills. It is meant to be for everyone. Okay, so I touched upon a little of all of these. This is our course objectives for mental health first aid, and what I really want to emphasize in this slide here is the idea of resilience and recovery. So we know that people that have mental health challenges, a lot of times that a piece of recovery is missing from the conversation. And we want that people with mental health challenges, we want to emphasize that people with mental health challenges can and do recover, that there's so many supports out there, that you're not alone, and that recovery is not only possible, but it's probable, and with the right supports, the expected outcome. So really just emphasizing that idea of resiliency and recovery throughout our training that we do for mental health first aid. And these are also some of the other course objectives. Okay, so core curriculums. So this is some of the work that we're doing throughout the state of New Jersey. And we're able also to offer youth and adult mental health first aid in Morris County. And so teen mental health first aid is for our high school aged students, teens. We know that teens talk to teens talk to their friends about their mental health challenges, but I think some of us spoke about this, but teens a lot of times don't know what to do with the information that they get. So what they learn in teen mental health first aid is how to tag in that trusted adult, identifying who that trusted adult is, and being able to have these productive conversations and tagging in that adult. And so the Mental Health Association currently is working on a project and initiative to help implement this program in about 42 schools across the state, and we've gotten about 15,000 students trained in the state of New Jersey in teen mental health first aid. So it's really a great initiative that I am so grateful to be working on. And youth and adult mental health first aid are curriculums for adults. Now, the main difference between youth and adult mental health first aid is youth mental health first aid is for adults that work with youth. So our teachers, our caregivers, our parents, coaches, youth group leaders, those are our intended audience for youth mental health first aid. And adult mental health first aid is for individuals 18 plus, giving that peer-to-peer mental health first aid. So learning these skills, how to recognize and respond, and I also should say in crisis and non-crisis situations. So non-crisis situations and crisis situations, we're learning the skills to effectively respond. Okay, and so the impact of mental health first aid. So mental health first aid, the impact of mental health first aid. So mental health first aid is an evidence-based, research-backed program, and the reports that we have from participants that take mental health first aid is an increase in mental health literacy and education. We know that knowledge is power, and when we can increase our knowledge and education and become comfortable with talking about mental health in general, we have an increased confidence and competence in intervening and having conversations, normalizing these conversations around mental health and substance use challenges. We have an increased knowledge of resources, so local and national resources. We have an increased knowledge of. A lot of times it's hard to navigate what resources are available and what we have access to, but mental health first aid speaks to those things. And finally, probably my favorite one that I see in all the trainings that I do is we have a reduction in psychological distress. And we know that if people with mental health challenges know that they're not alone, that these things are common, and that there's help available, we can reduce some of that psychological distress and reduce that stigma around having conversations, these important conversations. And finally, I want to leave you all, closing up here, but I want to leave you all with one of my favorite things. It's a wellness model that was developed by Peggy Swarbrick, actually at Rutgers University in the early 1990s. And I love this model. We talk all about self-care in our trainings. We start off the training with self-care and the training with self-care. And I would love to leave you all here with this. This is our wellness model. It's our 8 dimensions of health. So all these 8 dimensions encompass and contribute to our overall well-being. And we know that if you're helping someone or you're choosing to have these conversations around mental health, we want to figure out how we can fill our own cups, because we know it looks different for everyone. And so, yeah, that's what I have prepared for you today here. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. I hope that I will see you for a mental health first aid training. So we do, I don't know, I'm not sure if I spoke to this, but we have currently a funding to offer mental health first aid trainings at no cost in Morris County. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully partnering with the Township of East Hanover to offer this training to our communities. And thank you. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What I'd like to do before we close is we always have a portion for questions and answers, but I know this is very sensitive, so what I'd like to do is have each of the panelists have a 1-minute close, and then we'll hang around a little bit after for kind of one-on-one question and answer. That way you can ask your questions privately. But also, I'm going to recommend to Hanover Township, our BA is back there, our Assistant BA, Linda and Krista, that we're going to put together a one-pager with all of this information on it. We will be putting it on our website, and we will be sharing it through social media. And I think each area that we touched on tonight is very, very important, and it's very easy to make a phone call or text. Texting would be great, too. And tonight was great. I personally learned a lot, but I would like to start our closing comments with Christine Egbert, who's on the Board of Education. She's a mom, and she's on the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. So Christine, if you would start with a closing comment.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having this evening. I mean, Ace and I had a conversation. As a mom, I have a child who had a really hard fall into 6th grade from 5th grade. We struggled last year so much, and there were some things that happened personally that this night is so meaningful. Everyone in this room, whether you're a grandparent, just a friend, a family member, we all care and can see mental health with whether it's a coworker or whatnot. So I just love Hanover Township because these are the things that we come together on as board members, teachers, and families. So very cool. One thing I heard recently, a quote, and it just for some reason impacted me lately, and I keep saying it over and over. Small hinges swing large doors. Right? So everyone is a hinge. We can make such huge impact on people's lives. So small hinges open or swing large doors. I think that's really cool. So thank you everyone for being here and caring.
Thank you, Christine. Adriana?
I just want to say thank you all so much. I'm still a little in awe that I'm even sitting here and being, this is just so incredible that we have initiatives like this and the police department and Parks and Rec and everyone that's here. And I'm just very happy to be a part of it. And I hope to see you all for mental health first aid training. Getting more people trained, like I said, we can serve more people, we can touch more people, and yeah, I'm very, very grateful. So thank you all so much, Mayor Gallagher, and thank you all for being here and caring, and for everything that everyone does. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Morris County Prosecutor Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Mayor Gallagher and the Council of Mayors for inviting us here and for this very informative and useful meeting. Meg Rodriguez, a few minutes ago, I gave you a little presentation on ARIVE along with Chief Locke. And, the profession of policing is something that continues to evolve. With forward-thinking men like Chief Locke, Chief Ambrose, and our Police Chiefs Association for the county, has committed themselves to learning as much as they can about this mental health challenge that we all face. And they work at it every day. And the police profession, as you know, encounters a lot of things, from very violent criminals, to persons that are undergoing very severe mental distress and crises. And because of those type of situations that they never know when they arrive, is where the ARIVE program sits in very well. And in addition to that, I'd like to point out that Meg Rodriguez does a tremendous amount of dedication to this particular area. She also teaches something called CIT, which is crisis intervention training to our police and our first responders. And we do that on a quarterly basis, and we do anywhere from 30 to 40 to maybe 45 specialists who come in and learn how to recognize the signs for someone that's in crises. And Meg runs that program. We've done over 300, I think now, right? 300 more? 350 this week, as of last week, okay. But I say this because it's very important that the tools that are given, that we reduce the amount of force necessary in areas where persons need mental help. As the chief said before, prosecution is not our goal. It never is. It's protection of the public. And when we can recognize someone that needs help and does not need to be charged with a crime or is in a position where they might be able to hurt themselves or hurt someone else, of course we have to intervene. But the mental health challenges that we're undergoing now, maybe I'd like to touch on one additional thing in that same area, and that's the internet and how that has profoundly affected the ability of pedophiles and individuals that prey on young people, whether it's a sextortion scheme or whether it's simply maybe two adolescents exchanging nude pictures of each other and things of that sort that later turns into broken relationships and people pressuring each other. And in some cases we've had in the county where we've had the person that's 48 years old from Minnesota who's calling a young teenager here, 14 years old, young kid, proposing to that kid and, essentially portraying themselves as a young, handsome person that's in the area. And eventually these things lead to money being requested, and the children that are victimized like this rarely report this. And they don't tell their parents. Sometimes they'll tell a schoolmate. A schoolmate will tell a guidance counselor, maybe a teacher, and we'll hear about it. And we have a program in the prosecutor's office called ICAC, which is part of a federal program, which is Internet Crimes Against Children. And those are the type of things that we work on every day. We make arrests all too frequently for pedophiles and people taking advantage of other people. And to the young people here, I urge you, if you get involved in a situation like that, please tell someone. Tell a parent, tell a student, tell a fellow student, tell a guidance counselor, but talk about it. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not the end of the world if you get victimized in one of these things. It's quite common, and there are people there to help. Obviously, law enforcement has a role in it, but so do your school administrators and your superintendents and your teachers. They want to help, and we do too. So I just want to point out that one particular area we really haven't addressed tonight that we have a particular concern about. So I'll close by saying thank you. Thank you to your political leaders who work very hard at bringing this information to you. And I want you to know that you have friends in the prosecutor's office. We want to help when necessary. So thank you all, and God bless you all.
Chief Mike Locke.
I just want to let everybody know that this is a prime example of different pieces of the puzzle coming together to help get to a certain goal. We are not going to solve everything by ourselves, but it's everyone in this room that's doing their little part to help, whether or not it's law enforcement or the Township Committee or other entities that we have in the state that we can partner with. So I think this is a great example of that and how we can move together to get to a better place, and everybody can do their part in it. Whether or not you're sitting out there or you're sitting up here, everybody's going to be able to do something to help someone. You may not know now, but maybe something will come into your head in a few months or a few years and understand, okay, you learned something in this presentation tonight. So I congratulate the mayor for bringing everybody together for this, and hopefully everybody walked out of here with a little bit of information. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Morris County Commissioner Stephen Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor Gallagher. As a former mayor, I always say that the residents know who their mayors are. They probably don't know who their county commissioner is, and that's not important because it's not about us, but it is about what the county does, and that's that level of government between the local and the state. We fill in a lot of gaps. And for the purposes of this discussion, we have a department called the Human Services Department at the county. And I'm going to just read the mission of our Human Services Department. The mission of the Morris County Department of Human Services is to provide help and assistance to residents in need, from children to families to seniors. Our motto is, whatever it takes to help. And that truly is our motto. But one thing that you realize, especially in this field of public service, you can't do it by yourself. So what the county does is support and partnership with all of these other groups, the not-for-profits, the Hope One program. A tremendous amount of money flows through the county to support these services, and that's what we do, and we're there to help, and we're thankful for the partnerships that we can leverage and really increase what we're able to do in the community. And then, something else when you're talking about recreation, so Morris County, I got to do a little plug here, has the biggest park system in the state of New Jersey, county park system, and we have a phenomenal trail network, and that really does, and that's one reason why Morris County is continually ranked one of the healthiest counties in the United States, and we're very proud of that. And during the pandemic, our trail usage went up fourfold, and it hasn't really decreased that much. So it was great to see people be able to use our trail system and our park systems to get out there for a little bit of respite. And I'm just going to close with this, Mayor. The former retired chief from Bayonne's been here in Morris County so many times. I think I'm able to bestow upon him, ceremonial citizenship to Morris County.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's within my power or not, but I'm doing it tonight.
I got my passport stamped this morning before I come in.
There you go. But once again, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Superintendent Toomey.
Thank you again for the opportunity, and to everyone who took time to be here tonight or watched the recording. The Hanover Township Public Schools vision statement is a community that inspires excellence, and the key word, there's two key words, well, there's a lot of key words, I guess, in that, but the one I'm going to focus on right now is community, and I think this is, as we've heard from a lot of the presenters, this really is about the community, the resources that are available to support children. You know, I'm committed to education. It's a passion of mine, as most people that go into education. It is a passion of theirs too, but we don't get a second chance for kids. They get one chance. They don't get a do-over. They don't get to go back and start over again in kindergarten. They get one chance, and our margin of error is zero, which, you know, we take that responsibility tremendously. It is a heavy burden on all of the shoulders of every educator, but it is something that we also take with great pride, knowing that everyone in this room remembers a teacher that changed the trajectory of their life, whether you're 5, 50, or 105, right? So the power of an educator is really tremendous, and a lot of these trusted adults that you spoke about are educators, and we are here and committed to doing whatever we can. We might not always be perfect, but we're here and going to be in our endless pursuit to do what we can. You know, a quote that I'll leave you with two quotes. One, adolescence is not a problem to be solved, but a critical stage to be supported. And another quote, children don't need us to be perfect, they just need us to be real, to listen, and to care. So thank you again for the opportunity, and we look forward to continuing this wonderful partnership with the township.
Morris County's newest resident, retired Bayonne Police Chief, Ralph Cheyenne.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the last couple of years, I have had many conversations with Mayor Gallagher. And working out at the police academy, he asked me a very interesting question. What is the average age of recruits coming into the academy? 18 to 28 is about our average, and that's the majority of people that we deal with as recruits. And it's ironic that Superintendent Toomey said tonight that the brain is not really fully developed until the age of 25. I just need to take you back in history just for one moment. Post 9/11, when they were doing recovery operations at the World Trade Center Ground Zero, there was a young lieutenant by the name of Bill Keegan. He was an emergency service lieutenant for the Port Authority Police Department. He oversaw recovery operations there 5 days a week. He suffered mental issues. He's now fighting for his life with different health issues. I can tell you, as a result of that, he teamed up with, and this is ironic because he teamed up with the police chief from Newtown, Connecticut, where we did have that devastating active shooting situation where many children were killed. Also teamed up with the fire chief, who happened to be one of my family members who passed away 2 years ago. And they teamed up with Harvard Medical School, and they developed a program called SMART, S-M-A-R-T. And it actually deals with Superintendent Toomey, what he said in his presentation about deep breathing exercises, controlling your heart rate, controlling your emotions. So what we've done at the Police Academy to help our young students, our young recruits, in those formative brain years of development, from 18 to that really 28-year period, is to work in during the 22 weeks how to do these deep breathing exercises, how to deal with stress, not only on the job but off duty, but also to deal with stress as they're going from call to call. Again, this is run throughout the 22-week program. I'm happy to say I was a graduate of the intense training, and I am a certified SMART instructor. And again, if anyone's interested in the program, we can provide information and help you out as best as we can. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight and members of the dais.
Thank you, Chief. Morris Plains Mayor Jason Carr.
So I'm honored to be up here. I'm a mayor, but I am not an expert. I'm here to support. You have the experts that are here. And one thing that really sticks out tonight is the young people that are here, because the young people can get this message out to other youngsters, right? And it's a little conversation, like Mr. Toomey said before. It's the glitter, right, that you can look at, but it's little things like that that you can tell your peers about, and just tell them that you were here. It's okay to be here. It's okay to have problems. I think mental health touches every single person in this room. Nobody here is invincible when it comes to mental health. Just some of the stats that Mr. Toomey was stating way at the beginning, a couple hours ago, but we may have forgot, but you know what? When you talk about 12% or 13% of teenagers, that's 12 or 13 kids out of 100. That's 6 out of 50. There's probably 50 youngsters here, so 6 youngsters in this room, the potential is there to have these issues. So it's real, it touches everybody, and a lot of these little things that can start at home are very important, and the parents should pick up on that. You have some of the most, I'll say, highest officials, which we do in Morris County, sitting in this room. This is not our first symposium. This is 6, 8, I don't know what the number it is, but we're all up here to support each other. But to get some of the highest officials in the county that truly care and truly put programs together for the assistance of people in need is truly remarkable. Morris County is very lucky. We're lucky to be up here, and we just want to bring this message out to the parents and the children and anybody in need. So thank you for having me, Ace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Morristown Mayor, Tim Dowry.
Thanks. And fishermen, yes. When she said that, I do a lot of fishing. I'll be leaving Friday to fish up in Lake Champlain for a week. I did tournaments for a number of years before I made this mental health decision of getting into politics. So let me just be very brief. We do the ARIVE program, obviously, in Morristown. We're very active in it. We even took it a step further and created a mental health division within our police department. We're continuing to look at how we grow that. We're also in the process of making another division. We're not going to announce it yet, but we have 5 recruits coming out June 2nd, and I believe we're going to be putting 4 more in. So we recognize from the youth to adults that mental health is a key issue in crime. In a lot of the calls that the police department get. Policemen have to be psychiatrists, fathers, mothers, priests, you name it. They deal with every issue that happens out there in life, and they need support, and we've recognized that, and we'll continue to grow. So what I want to end with is, what can we do as a town in Morristown? We're a nonprofit town, so we are about 30% nonprofits. So we're always struggling with money in our community. So we've developed, those who know Morristown, especially young kids, Morristown's a cool place, right? It's happening. There's a lot of restaurants, a lot of action. It's people come all the time, 7 days a week. There's all kinds of things going on. So what we decided to do as a governing body and administration, and I had the luxury of making the phone call, we decided to donate to the MEF $100,000 a year for 12 years, and another $75,000 a year for 8 more years on top of that. And when I made that phone call to the president of the MEF, now, the MEF does do work with mental health, with the school system, and what do we get, 5,700 kids in the Morris School District. So that's a great thing. So when I had the ability to call this president of the MEF, which is a nonprofit that deals with the school, there was a silence, and then she said, "Is this Christmas Day?" Because it not only benefits them because it's hard to raise money as a nonprofit, but when you get a government donating to your nonprofit, it opens the door for them to get more money from other places, other sources, and in that result gets them more programming to the school district, more education to staff, more educations on mental health and other issues that the school doesn't have the ability to do, because it's very expensive to run a school district. We all know, because those of us adults that pay taxes, know that 60+% of our taxes go to schools. So even though the municipal mayors get blamed for your tax hikes, but it's really mostly the school districts. But that's a little political humor, in case you guys didn't get that. These all got it. But I'll end with this. I want to thank the mayor of Hanover and this community. And this is great that you guys are engaged with your government. In Morristown, we let the school do their thing. We don't really have this kind of connection. But to see this, I can't wait to go back and have these conversations with the mayor, and how can we do this in Morristown? Because this mayor has shown me a lot of things over the last, year, less than a year, when he reached out and asked me to come to one of these mental health symposiums, and it's really opened my eyes to a lot of different ways we can do things. But, as a mayor, you try to do the best you can and try to help as many people as you can, but you hit on a button that, when he's right, it happens at 14, and sometimes it happens before 14. So keep your eyes open. It's very subtle, but it happens. And then when you're 15 or 16, you can't control it. It gets away from you. And then you're 18, and then you're an adult, and you make decisions, and they're usually not good. So God bless you all, and thank you what you guys do in the school district, and all you and our commissioner, who is probably the best commissioners wherever I'm going to ever see as long as I'm elected. So I really want to thank publicly Steve Shaw for what he brings to all our communities. Thank you.
Chief Jack Ambrose.
So many things to say, so little time. First, as far as the law enforcement is concerned, we have an epidemic of law enforcement officers killing themselves. We're trying to address that. We establish programs, resiliency officers, things like that, and that goes hand in hand with the CIT program, the tremendous CIT program that Meg runs. We're getting officers trained. Then we have the ARIVE program, MHA people coming out. It's a seamless transition, and as you said, it's evolving every day, and more uses are being sought out with these mental health professionals. It's making our jobs easier. This is all successful because these people in this politically charged environment in 2025, there's no politics here. This is just good, hard work and caring community work and partnerships. And people like Prosecutor Carroll, Sheriff Gannon, they make the decisions that gets all these programs and all these efforts and our energies to be a success. And I want to thank Ace Gallagher for doing this. Again, it's our 8th symposium, and it's fantastic. Keep doing it. Thank you, sir.
Tracy.
So I'm going to be really brief, especially since you heard me speak for like a half hour. And I went over. So I just want to thank you all for coming. How brief was that?
Denise Brennan.
All right, so I told you about the counselor. So she said, you should go to your family and come up with a family motto. And I thought, that is a great idea. We're at dinner, I say, okay. I go down the line. Kelly, my oldest, what do you think? She goes, everybody thinks it, but only the Brennans say it. I was like, well, that may be your motto, but that is not my motto, so let's move on. So I say to my oldest son, Seamus, who is now an international tax lawyer, and he says, I'm better than you. I go, well, no self-esteem issues, but that's not quite what I'm looking for. I go to my middle son, Dan, what do you think? True middle child. I'll let you know later. I got to think about it. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm getting really frustrated. I go to my fourth one. I go to Shane. I said, Shane, what do you think? He's big athlete. Spent a lot of time in the emergency room. He says, don't call me unless you're bleeding. I go, okay. I go, that's too personal. I go, yes, that's your motto, certainly not mine. So now I'm really frustrated. 4 kids down to my youngest, who's a kindergartner, and he says, yay us. And I was like, that is perfect. And that's how I feel about this. Yay us. Yay us for taking a look at all the hard issues, at asking the hard questions, and coming together as a group to try to make a change. And I say, yay us, and thank you. Mayor Gallagher.
Krista.
Let's go home.
Y'all ate the pizza, right? Yeah. No, I just want to thank everybody for being here, especially the panel, and for sharing such great resources and providing us with such great information to share, not only with us, but our wonderful community. So I'm just really grateful that we're all here together as a team, collaborating and sharing such great information. So thank you for allowing me to be up here. Thank you.
I'm going to close with a comment that's for every age group. In music, and I played music for most of my life, there's a saying and it says, fake it until you make it. You don't want to fake it. You don't have to fake it. You have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. Not only just you young people, and it means a lot to me you're here, and I want to talk to each one of you before you go, because I want you to work with us to get the message out to as many people as possible that these services are available. But if you're honest and you have the courage to accept who you are, you're going to be an incredible member of this society. So I'm going to tell you, it's not necessary to fit in. You will fit in if you're yourself. And all the programs that we talk about today through recreation, through martial arts, with Mike Bruno and Sensei Murky, you could find yourself. You can have confidence. You can have self-respect. Therefore, you'll respect others. But you really can't fake it. You have to be honest. And I'm in the political world. Unfortunately, every 3 years I have to go through a political process to be able to serve on this level. But you know what it is? If you're true, your word means something, and you care, and you have the courage to be honest, and it takes a lot of courage to be honest. It's very, very easy to just go along and say, yeah, that sounds great. But you know what? You have to live with it. So what I'm going to tell you to do today is don't fake it. You don't have to fake it, and you're going to know you're faking it, and you're not going to be happy. So please take advantage of all of this information. Even if you're embarrassed, don't be, because in 3-4 years you're going to say, you know, that's the best phone call I ever made. That's the best text I ever shot in my entire life. People are here for you, and we want to help you. And it's not about us. Look at this group. And I'm going to end it with a saying that Ronald Reagan made very, very famous, but it's been said by many, many people. If you're the smartest person in the room, you have the wrong people in the room. Reach out, learn, care, and help somebody that needs help. Pull them up. Don't kick sand in their face when they're down. Pull them up. Guess what? That person will probably be your friend in 30 years from now. People remember the little things. So all I'm going to say to conclude is we're here for a little while. If anybody on this dais or panel would like to, if you have questions, we'll be here for a little bit. We have plenty of food. Take it home. I'm sure it's being wrapped up now. But thank you for being here, and this is going to be televised, and we will make sure everybody here has access to it. And if you share it, it's going to change a lot of lives. And the last piece about this recording is we're going to cut it down into pieces. So we're going to learn about all of these different things, and on YouTube you can watch each piece you're interested in. You don't have to watch the whole thing. So thank you, everybody. God bless you, and we'll see you again soon.
That was good. There's something else. Am I right though? Don't fake it till you make it. No, but I just love watching. Oh, yeah.